T. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic, non-classic. This episode number 2000, basically episode 2010, and Doubleshot number 1904. Yes, 1904. Now, I got two Marvel trades. One that came out very recently, the other collect the issues that came out like a decade ago. First up it is Venom, Volume 2, Deviation. Written by Ram V and Al Ewing. Ram V does 2 issues in here, 6 and 7. Al Ewing does 8 through 10. Brian Hitch does the artwork. Now, Brian Hitch also does the cover artwork. Alex St. Clair, who's the color artist. Yep. In the case 6 and 7, these are the issues focused on Dylan. And, of course, his fight with the Life Foundation. He's also on the run because of events of the previous volume. So, that is most of what those 2 issues are. 8 through 10 focuses on Eddie Brock in space. And there's a little bit of stuff at the bar. So, yeah. So mostly, yeah, from what I remember hearing, also, then we have apparently, for some reason, Eddie Brock ready to Kang the Conqueror. Love Brian Hitch's artwork of Kang the Conqueror. Yeah, this is quite strange. You might be asking, Nick, has Eddie Brock ever met this guy before? The answer is no. Eddie Brock has never Kang the Conqueror before. This is the first time he's met him. So, all about he fights and works with him. My only guess is the reason why they include him here, because he's going to feature in Quantumania, which is interesting. So, oh yeah, by the way, you have Eddie Brock focusing trying to get away back to Earth. Yeah. Most still a hive mind. It's not really terrible per se, just it's okay. I'm still going to get the next book because I really enjoy Venom, and it's interesting though they included, Kang the Conqueror in here. Good step up for that one. It's pretty good. This book is 9 out of 10. Yep. Next up, something really cool. We have the first of two stuff for Dark Avengers. The end is the beginning. Collecting Dark Avengers 175 to 183. Written by Jeff Parker. Artwork by 4 different artists for issues 175 and 177 to 178 is Declan Savvy. Kev Walker does issues 176, 179. 179 is also covered the artwork with Gabriel Hernandez Walta. The rest of the book is done by Neil Edwards. Now, you're probably curious though. Wait, 174. Wasn't the last issue published Dark Avengers issue 16? Okay, there is kind of an explanation for this. My guess is that Marvel really wanted to push Dark Avengers, but they probably didn't want to launch under Dark Avengers book because Bendis has already done that already. So why don't we take over another series numbering? Take over freaking Thunderbolts. Yes, for 16 issues. This book collects the first 9. Yes, the first 8. Yeah. Now, Thunderbolts, they are kind of featured here, but they're time dispatched. Basically, they're trying to get back home. Meanwhile, though, you have basically Luke Cage with Songbird and Songbird. Yeah, I think it's Songbird, Fixer, and I believe it's supposed to be Mach 7. I think it was Mach 6, I think it was. So, basically, Luke Cage is considered resigning because he's getting sick and tired of Thunderbolt stuff. So, here's basically what they decided to do. And then all of a sudden, the Dark Avengers show up. You're probably thinking, wait, was it Bendis' basically his original lineup? Nope. It's the second lineup, which is comprised of, get this, Trickshot, Hawkeye's brother, Dr. June Carver, a.k.a. The Witch, Ragnarok, the clone of Thor, Scourge rejoins the roster. Yes, he does. I'm trying to think who else. We also have Apuk, who is basically their Spider-Man, who's wearing a Venom suit. I'm trying to think who else was part of this team. I think that was it for the lineup, right? But yeah, that's basically they stabbed the Thunderbolts logo. So basically, they're appointed by the authority that is the committee that basically oversees the Thunderbolts. And here's the thing. The only Dark Avenger that Luke Cage trusts is Scar, because he was the only one of Dark Avengers who didn't threaten to kill him and his family. Or at least try to kill him and his family. Rest of them. Oh, by the way, there's a joke in here. I thought this was so funny. Where, like, you have Trickshot to make a joke, and then Luke Cage says, "Shut up, Trickshot." Now, you're probably curious, though. Okay, Hawkeye's brother, Trickshot. How the heck did this happen? This happened in a miniseries known as Hawkeye Blind Spot. I believe this was released, I believe it was like 2011, I believe it was. It was just after the cancellation. It was just after Widowmaker miniseries. He basically had this book come right afterwards. It was 4 issues. The original Trickshot, who was one of Hawkeye's mentors, was actually murdered by Barney Barton. That's his name, Barney. And he killed him and took his costume, took his title. He slightly altered the name. I believe Trickshot, the original one, I believe he had a hyphen in his name, the original one. And the Barney just basically took name, just dropped the hyphen, just slightly alter it. Ragnarok is written here like you think he's the actual Thor. June is a scientist of the group. Yep. So they basically do like a world climatic event. Yep. Yeah, that's caused by Toxics, aka the Witch. So Luke Cage fights them basically. Yeah, these guys are your replaceable. Like, and of course they're on the control via freaking nanites. And Luke Cage is like, oh hell no. yeah. So, and apparently since the events of Great Escape, it apparently has been, according to this book, it's been 2 months since Thunderbolt basically disappeared. The previous Thunderbolt, that is, with Thunderbolt's Tower. So basically, Luke Cage is doing some protest. So basically, do a war climatic event, which also leads to the return of the Thunderbolts to present day. Yep, and they basically have the next stop with their time traveling stuff, where they go to this weird future, and like for some reason, I have no idea what this is. Or apparently, it's controlled by Luke Cage, his Ulta future. And look at the way. Now, this is apparently supposed to be an Ulta version of Luke Cage from the future. I mean, the way he dressed with a helmet. They also mention he does not take off his helmet. Like, a guy with a very similar outfit rides a motorcycle just like this, carries a gun. Who does this remind you of? Judge Dredd. Yes, this reminds me of Judge Dredd. Why in the world did Jeff Parker decide to have Luke Cage rip up Judge Dredd? I have no idea. So it's a very dark and horrific future, which later leads to Thunderbolts. It basically kind of come back to present day, which also involves the Thunderbolts Committee. Fact, or basically they're in trouble. So it also involves, and basically they also fall up in here to, of all things, Hulk of Arabia. Yes, they do fall up to that story for some reason. Where they have Thunderbolts fight like a version of this guy who's basically his own country. Excuse me, yes. Where they also run into Kane Marco. Yes, Kane Marco makes a return to the book. Yep, this is of course just Offensive Fear itself. And, then of course, we have also return of Swamp Thing to the series. Not Swamp Thing, Man-Thing, excuse me. And he can talk. Yes, Man-Thing can talk now. Weird. Yes, Man-Thing can talk. And by the way, he even talked in his last miniseries that came out with by R.L. Stine. Yep. So after there's a fighting after they win the battle, and of course then Troll reunites with Songbird. takes off her basically her animal mask she basically is wearing for quite a while. Like, troll back. Yeah, and of course, basically, everyone's like happy to see him. And then something really weird happens where, like, the Dark Avengers are basically, like, they're basically flown back home. Thunderbolts are pretty much disbanded at this point. Yeah, they pretty much, the team is basically disbanded. And then, like, oh, you have Santana basically freezing time, kissing Luke Cage. Thank you for basically being good there. And Thunderbolts most of the spirit, Moonstone goes with him. Patrol stays there. Meanwhile, though, the Dark Avengers, after the Thunderbolts were dropped off, and of course they had the next reality stuff, and then all of a sudden we have one of the fact members just end up this alternate reality where she gets killed by Iron Man. Yes, an evil Iron Man. I'll explain this in their episode. Yeah, this was really good. I miss storytelling like this. This is so freaking good. And keep in mind, these issues only came like a decade ago. Yes, like about 10 years ago this came out. This book is awesome. I give this book a 10 out of 10. It's really freaking good. Now, sadly enough, now I'll talk about Dark Avengers when I talk about the very next, my next comic corner. I'll be discussing the final issues of Dark Avengers. Because what happened with them is quite strange. Now, pretty much Thunderbolts disband, and they stayed disbanded for 5 years. Yeah, they stayed disbanded for 5 years. That is until Jim Zeb brought him back after the events of... Actually, it was 4 years later they brought back after the events of Standoff. Now, what happened to the team? Well, Luke Cage basically continued to do his own thing in Avengers stuff, and of course, Heroes for Hire. Songbird, meanwhile, got added part of New Avengers. Excuse me. Yes, so pretty much right after the disbandment of Thunderbolts, she became part of basically the Avengers idea and mechanics. And then later on, she returned to Thunderbolts. And now you probably think, okay, like, has she done anything since the previous Thunderbolts series ended? Not the current one. No, I'm talking about the 12-issue one. What has she done since then? She has popped up in 2 books in the last few years. She popped up in a one-shot for Empire and the final issue of Marvels. And that's pretty much it. That's all she's done since the book ended. Appearing in 2 freaking comic books. Okay. Mach V is dead. Yeah. Apparently, Jim Zeb apparently killed him off in the final issue of Thunderbolts Volume 3. And that was it. Troll. Great character. Love this character, Troll. Now you're probably thinking, okay, what happened with her right after issue 183? Well, popped up for a couple issues of Spirit Focus of Spider-Man, and then popped up for the final arc of the awfulness that was Young Avengers by Karen Gillian. That's all was done for her. Moonstone basically joins up Dark Avengers. Talk more about that a bit. Centaurus. He is... You're probably thinking, okay, what exactly is doing nowadays? Well, like, what did he do after this book? After some of this book, popped up for a couple issues of Power Man Iron Fist, 2 issues of his Iron Man, a few issues of the Bendis one for Iron Man, and the final issue of Defenders. Basically, mostly Bendis stuff. Yeah, his last appearance was basically about 4 years ago. Yeah, it was basically 4 years ago was his last official appearance. That was the last time anybody saw him. Boomerang is dead. Mr. Hyde, he still occasionally appears. Oh yeah, he still occasionally appears. Excuse me. You're probably thinking, okay, what exactly has he done since this book ended? Well, after this book ended, he popped up for 2 issues of... 1 issue of Superior Foes of Spider-Man. If anybody has, I'll discuss that in a future video. Superior Spider-Man team up. he was pretty much the main villain of the all new Ghost Rider series. He was an issue of Shield. He dealt with stuff with Standoff. He was a villain for Secret Warriors. He popped up in Miss Marvel. His most recent thing he appeared in was a digital book. Yes, Strange Tales, Thor and Jane Foster Infinity comic. Basically, it was Ben Reilly's Spider-Man by Jan Lamanius. Man-Thing, of course, had his own miniseries, like just not long after this one. He also became part of, get this, the Howling Commandos of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yep, he became part of that group. For reasons. Yeah, I'm not sure why, but he did. So yeah, after this book, after he wrapped up his time here, popped up for 2 issues of She-Hulk, Spiritful Spider-Man, obviously, the ending for Kenny Avengers, some issue of Deadpool, Wolverine, S.H.I.E.L.D., like I mentioned, like Commandos of S.H.I.E.L.D., lots of Deadpool stuff, Old Man Logan. But his most recent appearance, there was actually the opening issue of this most recent volume of Damage Control. Yep, that's the most recent thing he did for him. The Beautiful Santana. You might think, okay, what has she done since this book wrapped up? Well, she later popped up in Peter David's X Factor. Yep, 2 issues of Spiritful Spider-Man, a few issues of Daredevil, a couple issues of S.H.I.E.L.D., Kenny Avengers, was in the Spirit Avengers miniseries, 2 issues of Doctor Strange, was a recurring villain in West Coast Avengers, appears issue of Champions, issue of Strike Force. Her most recent appearance actually was appearing in Captain Marvel, as recent as 2 months ago. Yep, that was her most recent thing they did with her since then. Okay, what about the Ghost? Well, he popped up in Amazing Spider-Man. Yep, he popped up Amazing Spider-Man as a recurring villain. Yeah, he basically popped up for a few issues. Was a one-shot, some issues of Thunderbolts. He was a recurring villain during the Matthew Rosberg Punisher run. 2 issues of Strike Force, his most recent thing was part of the Avengers Unlimited Infinity comic. And that's pretty much it. Oddly enough, you're like, okay, what about the guy, Sultan Magnus? Well, aside from the fact he basically was, this was the follow-up to his story arc, after the story arc wrapped up, he was never seen in comics ever again. No, seriously, he was never seen again. Yeah, this 83 was his last official appearance. Yep. Yeah, the organization fact disbands. Miss Keel was actually killed off with this issue. Yeah. What about K. Marco? Well, he recently had a miniseries. I believe it's My Famous Caesar. That was the most recent thing that Marvel did with him, was give him a brief miniseries. And has the appearance in that book wrapped up? Well, let's see. Well, since this book wrapped up, popped up in Amazing Spider-Man, Amazing X-Men, which he got his powers back. He's also been sporadically appearing. He was actually a main character in Punisher Kill Crew, but his most recent appearance today was actually in the most recent issue of Damage Control from the recent volume. Yep. But enjoy these issues. I think that basically excuse me, Jeff Parker at Thunderbolts was really cool. And, well, excuse me, for the next Comic Corner, I'll be discussing his last 7 issues of his whole entire run. I'll give my final thoughts on it and talk about another book he worked on. Yep, and that's pretty much it for this particular review. Next up is going to be Spy X Family. Okay, next video. Bye.